Welcome to LinkedUp, Breaking Boundaries in Education, a podcast that focuses on what is happening in education today, connecting everyone to the movers and shakers that are breaking boundaries in the education arena.
Welcome to LinkedUp, Breaking Boundaries in Education. We have another great podcast today. Jerry, we struggle with our social media, but it's so important for at least what I do try to do is connect with PLN. I try to connect with people, try to learn from people. And I used to do Twitter chats a lot. I haven't been able to as often, but I mean, just my learning that grew so much in so many, few years when I was really able to focus on it. And, I would love to be able to get back to it because it's such a great way to connect. And like I said, learn from each other.
It is. And, I was just thinking about it. I started with my PLN and it's been 20 years.
Oh my gosh.
Hard to believe. And the thing about it is I really have learned so much. And the learning is just in time, just when I need it.
Yes.
People appear. It's just wonderful. Right. And so I am so excited today that our guest is an expert at building PLN. And the other favorite thing is every time you connect us, Jamie, to someone outside of the United States, I get so excited because I love those global connections. And so you have hit a trifecta here with Evo. And so Evo, we are so excited to have you on the show today. I know that you were a former teacher, so bring us up to speed. Tell us what you taught and what you're doing today.
Thanks, Jerry, for the warm welcome. Thanks, Jamie. First of all, thanks for the compliment on the expert. I'm just trying to find my way, just like everybody else, guys. And I've stumbled across some really nice people, including both of yourselves. So thank you for the support. I was just, kind of rewinding back into my childhood. I was one of these kids who always tinkered, and I always messed about with things, and I would be taking apart radios and seeing what's inside them and then rebuilding them and repairing things. And that led me to take on a degree in design. And then that led me on to teaching design, qualifying in the UK and then teaching in the UK for 6 years. And then in 2007, I decided to take a big leap to the Middle East and teach in Dubai. And I was in Dubai for 14 of those following years before relocating back to the UK in the summer of 2021. And that's when I decided to kind of really practice what I preached. I spent a lot of time in Dubai pushing innovation, striving to help students understand how to build business concepts, how to create brands. But during the time I was doing this and helping them to think big, I was kind of wondering why I'd never ever done it myself. Why hadn't I ever really given it a go? I've got a passion for it. And so I remember in the school that I left to relocate, Dwight School, which they have a Dwight School in the US, actually, there in New York. And I remember speaking to the students as I was leaving, and they were asking what I was going to be doing. And I said, guys, after years and years of teaching students how to be enthusiastic to be entrepreneurs and start business, I'm going to actually start my own business, guys, when I relocate. And they were very enthusiastic about it and very happy to see me give that a go. And now here I am, 18 months along in that journey, connecting with people. Obviously, Jamie, I got to meet you over in ISTE in New Orleans. And it's been quite a journey, and there's so much more to do to help inspire new ideas and big thinking in the education space.
Well, I think that, really it's the connections with social media in positive ways that, I mean, that's how I knew you. As soon as I saw you when we were at ISTE, I saw you in person. I said, I know you. You're Twitter famous.
Yeah.
I know you.
I'm not Twitter famous.
But I followed you. I followed your posts. I followed you. I followed, you were doing a lot with global collaboration. And I saw all that. I knew all of that. And that's a big passion of mine. So when I saw you, I thought, oh my gosh, this is so great. And that's why those international conferences are so terrific, because we can grow our PLN virtually, but then when you really get to meet in person, it's very, very exciting. And then we can make further connections, like you being a guest on our podcast now. So, I mean, it really is this domino effect that is so wonderful. And just like you said, it really is just a great way to show kids, model for kids, right? The different ways that we can leverage all of the different resources that we have right at our fingertips. But I think it's really exciting. Well, first of all, you taught in at least 2 different countries, right? You taught in England and you taught in the UAE. So that must have been really great experience. And so what you taught design and innovation. And so now you're able to take that out on your own. So explain the business that you have started now. And this is just in the past month or two?
This is it's 18 months old. So
18 months.
When
I
relocated, so when I relocated in summer 2021, that's when I took a step out of the classroom and started Innovation X. Innovation X's story actually started back in 2017, when I started speaking at conferences, but I started speaking at conferences about topics that I wasn't actually teaching at that time, because I had an interest in innovation anyway. So I started speaking about things to do with digital assets and virtual reality and AI. But because we weren't doing those types of topics in our schools, because they were a bit more further advanced, I realized I wanted to speak under a different brand. I wasn't speaking under the school brand, because the schools weren't promoting that further knowledge base that I was trying to build. So I created this brand called Innovation X, and I started speaking under Innovation X. And 4 years later, that brand became a company essentially. So it's built on the knowledge platform and the passion and enthusiasm I have to connect cutting edge technology with education, so they can benefit each other. Now it's I don't really know how to describe it. It because of the way I think as a designer, I constantly think of new ideas all the time, and I kind of get bored quite quickly. So I built Innovation X to be more like a think tank. And so whenever I came up with a new idea or concept and brand, that lived under the think tank of Innovation X. So Vertigo, which is the one I spoke to you about, Jamie, which is using innovative ideas to push social media to promote schools and education companies to collaborate and grow their reach. Vertigo is its own brand, although it sits under Innovation X. And then Fusion, which is the magazine that we just caught up on, that is a community magazine based around teachers and essentially helping teachers feel good about themselves and promote positive education and ideas through a magazine platform on Instagram. So it's
education. You're working to connect more people and make it innovative. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I haven't left No. So I just stepped out of the classroom to essentially benefit the classroom from the other side.
And you're taking on a bigger classroom, the whole world. You're teaching
a global classroom.
Yeah. And it's cool because I get to do things that I, as a teacher, I only dreamed of. Like I I really wanted to go to ISTE as a teacher, but I just wouldn't. I would never have been able to go to ISTE as a teacher in Dubai to fly. It just wouldn't have made any sense. That I wouldn't have got the time off. I certainly couldn't have afforded to go. I'm running a business, and now the business enables me to travel through the business to get to ISTE and meet the lovely people like yourselves, and continue to grow our PLNs. So it's really opened a lot of doors for me as a person, guys.
And you're 16 months in, and I wonder, are there any lessons that you learned that if you could go back now and teach design again, is there a lesson you've learned that you would really push your students to know?
One of the lessons I was teaching them, and I would definitely go back and say a little bit earlier on, is build your connections. One of the key things I'm learning navigating both spaces, guys, is everything is about personal relationships. And without those personal relationships, connections, the vibe that people have when they converse and chat, that ability to motivate each other, the other side of things can become a struggle. If I hadn't built my PLN, starting Innovation X would have been nearly impossible. It just, because I wouldn't have a platform to even share my ideas with to get feedback, because I wouldn't have anybody. So you look at the interaction I had with Jamie. I am now here, fortunately, on this podcast through an interaction and through meeting Jamie face to face, through previous interactions on Twitter. But if they hadn't happened, when I met Jamie, that recognition of who I was and who she was wouldn't have existed. It started really digitally on Twitter, right? And that therefore means that when we catch up face to face, it's strengthened and it becomes more genuine, and that the trust is already there. And then you meet and then you're like, oh, actually, yeah, that's what he's like as a person. And so you kind of, by building a PLN, especially on social media channels like Twitter and Instagram, you're enabling yourself to get a step up. So when you do finally meet this person, you're not a stranger anymore, right? You are your acquaintances, your friends. That I don't know if I've shared the story with you about Stephanie Howells, but that's a crazy story, and it's a pure PLN story. As when I went to ISTE, I hadn't applied to be a speaker. It was very last minute that I actually even went. I knew Stephanie just through Twitter, didn't even really know her that well. On the first day, I bump into her. How's it going, Stephanie? Yeah, I'm Evo, blah, 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 on the chat. Stephanie, you look a bit worried. Yeah, somebody was meant to come over and they didn't make it, and now I don't have a co-host. And I'm like, right, okay, well, and she's like, well, you do the PLN thing on Twitter. Do you want to co-host? And that happened, and that's legit. So literally, I was at ISTE for about 4 hours, and 2 hours later, I had an email from ISTE saying you've been added as a co-presenter. And I was like, this is crazy. And then we planned the session, and then we did this live how do you build your PLN session, and it was in the poster campaign area, and we did 2 sessions back to back. We started with 10 people, and I think by the end we ended up with about 35 people each time.
That's so
cool.
We
were literally helping people build connections in front of us, and that came from connecting with someone on Twitter we're from different worlds. So the opportunities it brings it's just remarkable. And now Steph and I are planning for ISTE next year to do something now, properly collaborating, doing something together. I mean, that's phenomenal.
How
Absolutely
exciting.
phenomenal.
That really is. That's some story. And again, it's just like you said, we learn about each other on social media. We can see works that we each are doing. We can see other collaborations and connections that exist. And so when she sees you in person, she's like, oh, well, actually, the introductions were made, right? That was already done.
Yes,
And you know enough, we had that comfort level to say, that's it. You're my co-host now. I mean, that is so cool. That is so cool. That is so cool. What are some of the things? What are some of the tips that you provide, like that you talked about in that session, in terms of growing your reach, growing your PLN? What are some of the tips that you give people?
Yeah. So one of the first things we said was you need to be active. If you want to grow your PLN, you can't expect people to come to you. It just doesn't work like that. So, you know, when we had these 10 people initially who were a bit curious, the very first thing we did was we got them to introduce each other. Now, that's very different because they're in a physical space. But I said in the digital space, you can do the same thing. So on a Twitter chat, you jump in on a Twitter chat and you say, my name is such and such. I do this. Great to be here. People comment. When those people comment, there's your window of opportunity. Follow them, send them a message, like their pinned post, and that's how you build a connection. Boom, there's a connection there. So it starts with that intrinsic motivation to want to connect to people. And I personally find it much easier face to face. But I also understand the power of doing it digitally through social media as well.
Well, yeah, especially when we're living in different worlds, right, across the country. So it really makes a lot of sense.
So if I'm wanting to build my PLN, what networks should I be looking at? There's so much out there that I think it feels overwhelming.
Can be, yeah.
To people, like, where do I go? Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat.
I think the largest education community exists on Twitter, from what I can understand. There are multiple Twitter chats that happen every single day. If you type in if you just use the hashtag EduTwitter, that will give you access to so many things. They're everywhere. There's almost too many. If you want to join hashtag Global Staff Room PLN, that happens every Sunday by myself. I also do something on Monday called Monday Motivators, which is me highlighting people who keep me motivated during the week. And then everyone else kind of gets to share who motivates them. And again, it's creating that positive vibe. There is a lot. And you could spend maybe 5 minutes on Twitter and you'd find something that you could be involved in.
If I want to tune in and get in the chat on Monday Motivators, how do I go about doing that?
Okay. So it's you use the hashtag Monday, and then Motivators is spelled MOTIV8RS. It's with a number 8 because the 8 symbolizes the 8. In my regard, was initially symbolizing the 8 people who kept me motivated, but now people just they're highlighting like hundreds of people, which is awesome. So yeah, you can do it through that hashtag.
Perfect. Yes, because I think people want to know that. How, if you haven't been involved in it, how do you get started? Yes, I think there are a lot of great educators out there that would love to follow in your footsteps and take on a bigger classroom, if you will. But how do they begin to build their brand? How would you, teacher, begin to do that, or an educator?
Okay, that's interesting. My steps were very small. I started outside of Twitter. So it was connecting with people locally in Dubai. I was hosting my own meetups in Dubai in 2014, 15, and 16. And then that gave me a bit more confidence to then apply to speak at conferences. And then at conferences, you always meet people who travel in to those conferences. And then that gave me the confidence to basically build my network on Twitter, because I had essentially opportunities on connecting with people through Twitter, and then that led me to more people on Twitter. And so building your brand now, I think, is easier than it's ever been before because of visibility on digital platforms. But you have to be really focused on wanting to do it. You have to be really that has to be a goal for you. It can't be casual, because if it's a casual and it's like, I want to build it, but I don't want to build it, and I'll put a bit of effort in, but I won't put it, it'll just be wasted effort. It has to
You have
be
to have that consistency, I guess, too, right?
that consistency, Jamie. That's right. Consistency of voice, consistency of what your personal brand represents, and you have to show that there's an authenticity towards what you're doing. But Jamie, the consistency thing is a massive thing. Turning up and being present. On Twitter, I think when I first started, I think I was tweeting and interacting for probably about, it sounds like a lot, but it was about 2 hours a day for probably about 6 months.
Well, I mean, the Twitter chat in itself is an hour or a half hour, depending on which one it is. So just that interaction, and it's fast paced. It's hard to keep up, but it's really great just to, learn from each other. I always have trouble with Twitter chats as part of the engagement, that I'm like reading everyone else's, or that I don't get to do my own. And then when I do my own, I feel like I'm missing out on everyone else's. So that's always a struggle too. But
it's very
exciting.
They are fast
and full of resources. They're all full of
yeah. I took a bold, so I started to use Twitter with intention in November 2018 and quite quickly built up a network. And in 2019 January, I started a chat called Engaged with a group of people, and one of our goals was to get it to trend. And on its third Twitter chat, it was trending.
Wow, that's pretty.
That's very cool.
Crazy. Yeah, it was crazy. I was just like, it was trending in the education space, and I was just like, this is nuts. So that lasted about 3 months. It was almost too intense though. It was like we built it up so much that you'd be exhausted at the end of it, because but again, it was a great way of understanding community, building community, connecting with people. I mean, I'm not going to ask anyone to bother scrolling through my timeline, but you can literally find it, and it was a bit crazy. We had like videos that were attached to the chat and images, and we had polls in the middle of the chat. It was pretty cool. We were trying to constantly push boundaries and try new things. It was good. Yeah, it was really good.
Let me ask you a question about, another growing your PLN, we're talking mostly about Twitter, but there are other platforms as well. We started connecting in Clubhouse for a little while, but then that fizzled out for us. But then soon after, Twitter responded with Twitter Spaces. And so is Twitter, and I never really got into Twitter Spaces. Is that something you do as part of growing your PLN? Is it still there? I don't see it all the time like I used to. They used to have like scrolling stories, and I don't see that. So what's going on now in terms of like speaking and talking with people in Twitter, and are you leveraging it?
I have taken a step back. Twitter Spaces is amazing. So it is Twitter's version of Clubhouse essentially. I've jumped into a few of them. The reason why I've taken a step back from my engagement, and I've only just kept the global connection on Sunday and Monday, primarily to keep the communities, to help people connect themselves. It's because running a business isn't just not 9 to 5, and it is like it requires a lot of energy, and so all of a sudden I have to understand where I put my energy. I can't put everything. If I spent all my time doing the things I used to do, I wouldn't have any time with my family. So I keep those 2 chats going, which is really nice to see people connecting from different parts of the world and keep positivity, shout outs. But for the rest of the time, I generally just support other people by things that they might have released a book. I jump on, support what they're doing, have a quick look at what it's about. I very much see myself as someone who wants to help people elevate, funnily enough, elevate their own personal brand now.
Yeah. So
in the space,
helping them grow those connections, keep that PLN going so that people can continue to learn from each other. And I love how you're kind of like the catalyst, the center of it to keep it alive, and definitely very much appreciated. That's for sure.
Yeah, no worries. Like, I think everybody needs a little bit of help, don't they? So, and I still do. I certainly haven't figured everything out.
Sure. Well, another question. I always have questions. What are some of the trending topics in education right now?
The biggest trending topic that I'm not entirely sure what's going to happen with it is Chat GPT, the AI
I was going to say it's
just
going crazy right now.
It's nuts.
Crazy.
It's absolutely.
Tell me what it is.
AI.
It's an artificial intelligence platform that essentially responds to the questions that you ask it in a very specific way. Like,
my husband and I were going to try it last night. We're going to try it this weekend. And I'm actually going to take a little mini course on AI in general. But I am so excited to look into this. The pros and cons are, well, yeah, I mean, you can ask it to do anything, but a student, and this is where some people are kind of debating, a student could ask it to write a 6-paragraph essay in the voice of blank with 5 errors and having, about a particular topic, and get even more specific than that. Crazy.
Well, I just saw a demo from, remember Holly that was on our podcast?
Yes.
She was demoing it on TikTok last night and showing through Canva how she could get it to write whatever she wanted. But she was also making the point that this needs to be kind of the brainstorming part for students and teachers, not to shy away from it, worried that they're just going to copy it. Let them use it to brainstorm.
That's right.
That was a great point. But yes, yeah, it was amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's just taken a whole leap. I mean, things now, and I'm going to be writing about it in Fusion next month, in February's version of Fusion, from a positive standpoint of view. Things now have moved to the point where your computer can literally respond to what you need via instruction. And we already know that Alexa can do bits and pieces with its own AI through voice control. So, and then as a teacher who was heavily leading and promoting innovation, I do have to say this: the canyon that exists between cutting edge technology and education is only because the facilitators in the middle are denying the technology. And the problem with this is education gets further and further away from society that's taking advantage of these technologies. So you look at Microsoft has just put a bid in to have a I think it's a 49% share or something of ChatGPT, and Microsoft's one of the biggest software companies in the world. Yet schools are saying no. So you've got one of the biggest software companies in the world investing in it with billions of dollars, and schools are saying no. There's something missing there, because it should be the opposite way around. It should almost be schools saying yes, and the big companies going, "Oh, I'm not sure what this would do with our profit margins," or I don't get why it's backwards.
That's what was
I
tweetable.
understand.
That was
no, it's
yes.
It is scary. Yeah.
It is. And the, yes, students could do that. But if you are assigning them projects that are going to be low level that allow them to do that, then we don't want just like a research paper. There needs to be synthesis. There needs to be, multiple different angles to this paper. There need to be the students' own ideas, and and that's what needs to be done. We need to change the landscape so that way there is more authentic learning. The assessment is going to be more authentic in that case as well. And so instead, these tools are there for students to leverage in terms of research and learning. And then that's just the step one. Then they take it from there. And that's what's assessed later. So whether they create their own commercial out of it, or make their own podcast out of it, or something like that, those are the assignments that we actually should be grading. And so there is where we can hopefully shrink that canyon a little bit better, because we can get some more buy-in that way. But there's a lot of educators who just need to get over that.
I think from an innovation point of view, for anyone who's listening and as a teacher, and like I was saying before, this type of stuff is scary. But the 3 steps that I would advise anyone to do is discover, explore, and then engage. We have to do those things, because we are doing a disservice. It's 2023 now, guys. Imagine 2023, we deny this AI technology for 5 years, let's say. So it's now 2028 and kids don't know about it. ChatGPT is now on its 5th version, which means it's even more advanced than the first version that you didn't even want kids to learn 5 years ago. So essentially, kids are now behind by 10 years because you stopped them from learning. Do you know what I mean? It's almost backwards that we think that by denying them access to technology is going to help them somehow. It's not. It's not helping anybody at all. We need to embrace it, and a bit like what you said, Jamie, find the ways that it can benefit education, benefit students, so they are future ready, guys. That's what we need.
And it's not just our teachers. It really needs to start with the administration on the top.
It does.
Embracing it, so that they allow teachers the opportunities to use it with their students,
so they don't get thwarted. And then sometimes also educating the community too, because sometimes the community can slow things down a little bit when there's not full information that they are granted.
Understanding.
So,
very
100%, guys.
Well, 100%. I have to bring you back to something. How do we read Fusion? It sounds like you have to
how do we read Fusion, your magazine?
Yes.
It's
is it a digital magazine or
it lives on Instagram?
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, so do you guys have Instagram?
Yes.
Let me take you through it, guys. I don't know if so if you go to fusion.mag.uk, this is it, guys. And what we did, so it's a community-based magazine. It's all about education, technology, culture, and lifestyle to essentially promote positive communities in education. This is the UK version. If it takes off, we would love to launch one for the US. And what you do is when you click on a post, you swipe to read.
Oh.
So the first post is all about what's happening that month. And then when we swipe to an article, you read the article.
Wow, this is
And it uses something called, it uses something called flow design that we came up with, which is where you have the flow between one page and another. And we're showcasing, in a bit like what we said before, we're promoting personal brands. And so there's an article that gets posted every few days, and it's all about showcasing voice in the UK and education. And it's cool. We've got these interesting engagements for the community, to grow the community. Our goal is to share 100 voices this year. Yeah, this is the vibe. This is where we're at, guys. What do you think?
I love it.
This, or is
Say
the
again?
flow design something you created?
Say again, sorry.
So could anyone create a magazine like this? If Jamie and I wanted to have a magazine like this with our podcast, could we create that, or did you specifically create the flow design?
I saw other people use things like this, but they didn't use it in a magazine format.
Right.
They were just using it to share quotes. So they had like quotes. So it was almost like you were scrolling through quotes like this.
Right.
And I just converted it into reading a magazine. So this format I've never seen on Instagram. So yeah, it's all about the community. So each on the first date of each month, there will be a cover just like this, and that cover will share with you what's happening for that month. So you can actually see what's getting posted during that month. So it gives you a highlight of what's coming up, right? And that's what we want to do. We want to share voices, and so yeah, it's.
Oh my gosh, that's ingenious, innovative for sure. That's just wonderful.
Thanks, guys.
Wonderful.
It's been in my head for 14 months, and I only started working with somebody with our team. Now we have a team in Innovation X. We only started working on it in October because it took that long to really figure out the intricacies of how it would work.
Right.
Because I've never seen anyone do it before, so we didn't want it to fail. So we needed to really make sure the product was ready, you know.
So is this you can market? Can you market this? Not your magazine, but this flow for other people.
Yeah, well, we could. I mean, I've just mentioned it. I just put a name on it because it's designed with intent that things flow from slide to slide. It's not accidental. So I just put a name on it because that was the reason why. By creating that flow, the UX, the user experience is different than having separate pages that have static pictures. And that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to create a magazine that was easy to read on your mobile phone, on your mobile device, that you could pick up, and you'd have new content, fresh content every couple of days, hopefully every day if it gets big enough. And it keeps people positive, keeps people inspired, ready for the day ahead, you know.
Just another great way to connect people on a different platform, keep them connected, keep them learning from each other. And, you know, because of the fact that you taught innovation, you realized you kind of were bursting with it, wanted to do more, you left the classroom, and now you are innovating in different ways. And then eventually in a couple of years, when you can kind of get everything, you've got everything going in a great direction, you can hopefully bring it back to the classroom and showcase some of teachers, train them, and have students create school magazines like this. I mean, and other innovative things that you've been doing. So just bring it full circle, right back to the teachers, right back to the classroom. Really great. This is a great story. I think everything you're doing is wonderful. And I just love, again, your positive vibe, your positive energy, and the way that you so well connect people from all over the world.
And I wanted to say that you have reached your goals on this podcast because you've been so positive, shared so many innovative stories, and inspired us. My head is reeling with ideas thanks to you. So,
yeah, no worries, guys. It's been a pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
Yes.
Great.
Well, thank you for joining us. And how can people find you on Twitter?
Just at Evo Hannan. Feel free to connect. Feel free to engage. You can send me a message if you want to. I'm always open to connect with people and share anything I can. Instagram is the same, Evo Hannan, and then obviously Fusion. If you want to read it, if you want to write for it, you can write for it as well. There's a content creators link in the bio. If you're at ISTE, it'd be great to meet you. If you're at BET, I'm hosting one of the stages at BET London at the end of March. ISTE, obviously Philly, I'm going to be with Jamie and some of you guys in June. Loads of way to connect, guys. Let's get in the mix.
Yes, that's right.
Let's do it. Yeah.
All right. I know I'm not going to be at BET this year. Otherwise, I would see you, but I'll make sure my team says hello to you who are there. And I really look forward to seeing you at ISTE in Philly this year.
Thanks, Jamie. You too. Thanks, Carrie. It'd be great.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, Carrie. Sorry, Jerry.
It's all right. It's all right. Well, thank you for being on with us today and spending time with us. This has been so inspiring.
Thank you guys for your time. And honestly, anyone who's listening out there, if you want to do anything, it starts with that intent and that motivation to just push ideas, push boundaries. You can achieve, you can connect. And I wish you the very best of luck with everything you do, guys, if you're listening. Thanks again for letting me connect with everyone, guys.
Thank you for listening. And if you would like to stay linked up, be sure to follow us on Apple and Spotify and subscribe to us on YouTube.